I can't find most of the good commissary items anywhere. They had some really good mackerel and chili sauce, specific brands of instant coffee Keef, Boston's Best, some kind of Thai noodles, chips etc. I have found Keef coffee for sale on eBay, but at like 3x the price. Ridiculous. Boston's Best is available but not the kind we had. That shit was awesome, and what got me drinking coffee. Go to an Asian market and you'll find that canned mackerel and chili sauce. I have several Asian markets near me, and have seen some in cans. However, the mackerel I got came in a bag. I can't believe I am sitting here thinking mackerel in a can? Ha! I would only eat it if it came from a pouch. Apparently ex-cons have a higher, more sophisticated palate than your average can fish eaters. You sound like my cat. I like that I felt secure. I wasn't gonna starve. I wasn't gonna freeze or die of exposure. I like that I had nothing to worry about. But it wasn't worth owning nothing and having nothing. It was boring as fuck. As someone that was homeless and actually spent about a week in jail for a crime I didn't commit, I will say, a roof over your head and food in the belly is hard to give up. Almost wanted to actually commit some crimes just for somewhere to stay. Note, I am no longer homeless, and still crime-free. The case that landed that week was absolved from my record once they found the actual criminal. My uncle was homeless and during the winter, Ohio, he'd pull some petty crime to get thrown in jail for a month. My friend's brother made the front page of the local paper a couple months ago for trying to get thrown in prison. He busted out the windows at the local police station. His plan failed. They sent him to county where he was released on an R bond. WTF. Pinochle. Endless fucking games of Pinochle. I did 2 years and played so much Pinochle. I can't even get 4 people together to play out here. That's the only thing I really miss. Besides not having any actual responsibility. Maybe volunteer at an old folks' home? My grandparents used to love playing Pinochle with their friends. He can't volunteer with vulnerable populations if he has a record, at least where I'm from you can't. I imagine that very much depends on why he was in. DUI okay whatever. Armed robbery maybe they care. Water pressure. It was cleansing. Lucky. Water pressure in the jail I was in was absolute shit, and the shower heads were always half clogged so we'd cut open an empty shampoo bottle to try to keep the flow of water going roughly in the same direction, which was always confiscated in a shakedown. There were a couple really hot guards, but I'm not sure if they were really hot or I was just sex deprived. I don't think it's worth it to go back and figure it out. I'm not sure if they were really hot or I was just sex deprived. I don't think it's worth it to go back and figure it out. Slide into their DMs on LinkedIn lol, you are accountable for the things you say and do. Farts. I didn't fart. Gets shanked. I'm not an ex-con but my dad was, for drink driving. Before then he was a very successful businessman but alcohol got him. When he came out he told me he missed the wardens because they were nice to him, they recognized he was a normal guy who fucked up. He missed the sense of everyone just trying to get through it together, and he only did a few months. On a side note, my dad was quite arrogant and always had to win. So he smuggled cannabis out of prison just to prove he could. Upon being released he wrapped a bit up and put it in his shampoo bottle so it would float to the top, just behind the label on the bottle neck. If he got caught? Another 3 months. But my dad had to take his win. He smuggled weed out of prison? I don't even remember anybody really searching me on the way out of jail or juvie. I miss the solitude of being alone. I did about 47 months, from age 19 to 23. I missed the feeling of coming home and everything was so new. I respected everything and was so thankful for a new start. Inside, I miss the brotherhood of those around me, that I ran with. The loyalty in there is something you don't find out here. The learning and humility factor was awesome. It was good being tore down and built new. I know of someone that's an acquaintance that can answer this question. Did 8 years in a federal prison, was released in February but due to a shoddy release paperwork job, is back in federal prison because he was released 6 months early. Was out for 9 days. Back to do 180 more in the can. That should be illegal. I feel it fits cruel and unusual punishment. Well, it's a thing where he went to court and without resentencing on the original crime, Wicks was bad, it's not something a judge can fix. It's an administrative issue and the prison can't illegally release him. It's a total confusing mess. Retiring release coordinator at this threw ahead of the government shutdown and retired. The probation office locally flagged it but the BOP never got the word and cut him loose to report to a halfway house that legally couldn't accept him. Total mess. The nice-ass prison guard who, I hate to admit this, had to look up my ass on my first day. Welcome to Texas. The dude was actually my age. Early 20s. Friendly as fuck. The only nice guard in the whole place lol. Which is why he worked booking. The camaraderie. The brotherhood. Free education and learning facilities. The brotherhood? We know, raised hand. Not me but a friend misses playing on PS4s and Xbox all day and watching cable TV and playing pool. A slow having 3 hot meals cooked for you and learning new skills and gaining certificates. Did this dude get locked up or go to camp? I was in a bad drunk driving accident and went to state prison for 2 years. Just before that happened I got an associate's in IT, which isn't much, I guess, and had never been in trouble before. I'm a quiet, reserved guy whose maximum bench weight is a sandwich and beer. So, I was scared. I knew nothing about this world. I have severe self-esteem issues and severe depression. I was a meek man locked up with the rough crowd. I kept to myself for a little while in county jail. Then my wife left me. Told me when I called her a few days after the DUI. I went to my bunk and cried, and was sure I was gonna get my ass kicked for being a pussy. An old man, seasoned inmate, comes over to me with a deck of cards. He says he's gonna teach me card games to make the time go by. I learned, played with others, and met people I would have never met otherwise. In prison there was more to do. I read 165 books in an 18-month period. I made a couple good friends. I even ran a D&D game for a while, Cards as Dice, 3.5 edition from memory kind of. I listened to a lot of stories. A lot were bullshit. Others were genuine, though. I gained a lot of perspective, and a degree of social confidence. But, I do not miss anything about prison. I grew from the experience, and I appreciate that, but seriously fuck prison. TL, doctor, I have positive experiences from prison, but I miss absolutely nothing. I'm a girl but your experience matches mine pretty much exactly. Just wanted to say I understand completely and I couldn't have described it better. Glad you're out. I have nightmares about going back sometimes and breaking up my current family. I'd kiff I'd survive it twice. Man, I know prison is not at all the same, but any time I thought about re-enlisting in the army I thought, I would not make it through boot camp again. Fuck that. A lot of guys can't handle reintegrating into society after they've been in a while. It's not that they miss how fun being locked up is, they just have years of living a certain way ingrained in them. Whether it's too much free/unstructured time or working with others, you sadly see a lot of repeat customers in the legal field. One guy got out after like 18 months and less than 3 weeks later got picked up again for pulling a shotgun on his neighbor for his dog shitting on his lawn. He genuinely didn't see anything wrong with what he did as he didn't load it, but unfortunately that doesn't mean shit to the law. To him he was just negotiating from a position of strength with the neighbor, but he ended up getting hit with felon in possession of a firearm, assault with a deadly weapon, and a couple other ticky-tacky charges they pile on. Some guys just get in trouble for no reason other than they have too much time and no one will hire them. They go from being assigned a job and have someone telling them when to wake up, when to go outside, when to eat, and then suddenly there's no guidance at all. A couple guys I'd have to call them the morning of their court or probation to remind them even though I told them the day before to set their alarm. It's extremely sad but with guys that got in the system at a young age it's not uncommon to see a 40-year-old man who lives like a teenager because he's never had to make a decision about where to go or what to do. Something as simple as choosing a pair of socks to buy is a legitimate dilemma. One guy mentioned that specifically as the moment he realized he wasn't used to having to make so many decisions. It still strikes me, this video I watched. This guy interviewed a man who'd been in prison for 16 years. In and out since he was 18. The man was being interviewed particularly on the topic of solitary confinement. The man described how it worked. The solitary confinement room was a small room where there was no view of the outside world or any sunlight. All the light he'd get was from a single ceiling light that was always on, day and night. Without entertainment or companionship, all he'd be able to do is think. What horrifies me is how people expect criminals to reform in spite of these cruel practices existing. Was in a juvenile facility for 3 years. Food much better than I feed myself now in college and the social hierarchy, as fucked as it was, could be comforting. I'm much less social nowadays so I guess I just miss being social in general. Also staff was pretty dope when they weren't getting fired for breaking kids' arms etc. How'd you end up in juvie? And holy crap, breaking a kid's arm seems like enough to send the adults to real jail. Didn't really do anything. Started in mental institutions and eventually was sent to a residential juvie in the PA Mountains because they had nowhere else to place me and couldn't hold me past the 6 months I'd already been in the mental institution. My 6-month stay at the institution was broken up into 3 different extended visits during that time and is a long story, but I never wanted to hurt myself or others and had no criminal record, Kids at the juvie there were from Philly and coming fresh out of places like CFCF and North Philly because they were beyond their handling capabilities and needed extended stays. I was from burbs so I didn't fit in. Got fucked up for first 6 months daily before I started to fight back. Caught some aggravated assaults there, which legitimized my reason for being there and made me stay way longer than I ever should have. On a positive note, after first year of on-campus schooling they had a public school bus come to the mountains and take me to a local public school because I was educated enough and tame enough to do so. I was the first kid there to ever do so and probably was the last since I left. The fact that I never acted up in the public school, where I had no supervision and was treated like a normal student, should have shown them I didn't need to be in a 24/7 lockdown residential-style facility. But I spent 2 more years there, prob for insurance dollar they made. It's a fucked up world out there brah. As an edit before people ask about foster care, Mom still wanted me and I didn't see emancipation as beneficial. Boy was that stupid, but I was only 15 so I don't know these things.